Hey, well, here, I'll just go ahead and say the rest of it. So they were at Margie's house. And Margie kept letting him in, too. That person who painted the ceiling was that guy that worked at... He told me himself that he was painting a house in St. Louis Park with shingles on it. He worked at the donut shop. That's what he said. But he also did stained glass work. Funny, huh? I know. Well, and I had Chrissy's password on my computer because I was at her house for Thanksgiving when I moved into Cabrini. Because I left RRC and they wouldn't give me my records. Well, Liz had quit working there. It's funny. I listen to these people outside and I'm like, whatever. And the door slammers. I'm like, go ahead, be angry. Slam your doors. I love it. Oh. And then I was thinking, everybody had their own passwords and their own internet. I used to take pictures of it. It was funny. And then I would run profiles on, like, you know, IP addresses in the house in Cabrini. And I asked Monty to check in on it. She wouldn't. I put pass locks on the computers, and then computer people came in and wiped out all the computers downstairs. Cleaned out all of the files and histories on them. It's funny. Sarah's phone had all those phone numbers of all the people I had. Of course, you know, I told Sean in my mind where to find it. I doubt they ever did. Sarah was funny. She's like, oh, I've got 8 interviews left with, you know, people. She sent me that thing to read about Aleister Crowley and Miley Cyrus. And I was like, pretty much. I saw her at that. She was empty inside. She gave me a hug and I was just like, she wasn't the same woman that I met. I can tell you this. When I first saw her move into Cabrini, and I'm just using these names, they could be anybody's names, I was like, wow, she's crazy. Or just, you know, well, and I knew that since they had access to all of the passwords, I would send passwords to my brother online and on my phone. Well, and it basically was, hold on. I knew how they were doing it. It would be easy to totally switch feeds on, you know. I mean, anybody could be anybody on the internet. Except for me, I have a pretty distinctive voice. And no amount of tampering with it is going to change that. It's funny. Wasn't all of them. They were good people there. Most of, well, there was a core group of people there that were just hell-bent on, like, sabotaging their own lives, really, is what they ended up doing. Oh well. I look back at it and I just didn't like. I Sometimes I'm like, well, I don't know. I suppose I put my family in a little bit of danger by associating with those people and then having my entire life history on my computer. I said that once. Why would you ever trust a bunch of addicts, Stephen? They're in it just for themselves. It's because I believe that inside some of them was still something worth saving and seeing as beautiful. It's just. They used to sit downstairs and read my blogs and then make comments about it. Sideways comments. That's pretty much why I destroyed it in the first place. Invading my privacy just, it was funny to them. It was funny to them. Well, because I was still struggling. Well, that's because I stopped taking all those medications and finally, you know, started living again. Made that same yogurt, except I put the blueberries in. Not the same, though. I'm going to do it the old way. I think that stuff is better on, like, ice cream. The hot stuff. Even though it was really good, too. I told Margie that I told her that she should get her internet changed. Well, I didn't tell Chrissy because that internet was so old, that computer. I thought, who's going to be able to break into that computer? And they started tampering with my schoolwork. I quit school about 4 times. And I would call school and just yell at them. Oh, some people were like, well, you were out of control, Stephen. Somebody needed to do something. No. Well, now look what they have. You know. I look at a window over there and one up there. When I look at the birds, have you ever noticed how little blackbirds, when a crow flies around them, they attack them? Like, we don't want any of your business around here. Yeah. But they're the same kind of birds. Are they birds? not what else did I know that they were doing? Well, they any I saw them outside Margie's house. So did Margie. She was like, "Why is that car parked here?" And I'd be like, "I have no idea." And sometimes I thought, I wonder if they're watching me. In many ways, I think a lot of people in our lives kind of infiltrated our family to like, or they were in our family for reasons that they needed to be. I should just go through those family trees and cut out the people that I don't want in there, that I know I didn't put in there. I recognize their names too. I spent so much time doing it. I should just go cut them out. But I won't. I knew something too about like starting new civilizations. That's another story. I knew. Well, I told you that before. I knew what would happen in the beginning and over time, and I knew how somebody could just, you know. I don't blame. Well, I don't blame cowards. I don't. I guess I could. I could blame cowards, and maybe I have spoken too harshly about cowards in the past. But they lack something inside. Call it a soul or a spirit. Or maybe they're locked in their own inner hells, inner prisons of their minds. And you know. I told you about Greenway, how they, you know, wow, how they treated me poorly there. And how the staff, some of them, I mean, some said, you know, Sean said, well, you quit your job without having a backup plan. And I was like, yeah. But when you're contributing to the problem, well, I felt like I was. And then that new director, I was just like, you are not ordering me around, woman. Especially when she was a child. I mean, she had no idea what she was doing. And I do have ideas that other people would have liked to have seen my life different. And that will not be the case at all. You know? I don't know. And Martin, you turn these lights off again? You're answering to me directly. You just can't sneak around and unscrew light bulbs that you don't like. Not without asking. You know? So, I'm going to call that council together in person one day. You know? And then there'll be a reckoning. I know they want me to. Well, I saw this too, that it was like, well, they're going to try to make you go through until when you filed lawsuit against Tara. And I said, I'll just walk away from the court right now. I'm not playing into their games. I won't even go. I'll go to the court and walk out and say I'm done. And be like, stay in your filth to the ones who created it. And I can just be free of it. You know? And won't that trap some of them here? Of course, she already healed like 205 of them, so I guess they'll come with me. I don't know. And Sean's right. I will never love me as much as I love Stephen Philip Lindquist. Why would I? I wrote once that me is dying. Not Mia, but me. And everywhere I look, I see it. It's just like everywhere. I don't have to hide from it though, and I never do. In fact, I put myself right in the middle of it, where I always am. You know, in the heart of the matter. And so, I'm looking at those pictures. You know, I think Sean's embarrassed to have me meet his family. He's like, they're not like you. I'm like, who is? No one. So, I have a way of changing people, anyways, and others. I mean, it's just. And usually, if people don't, if they don't like Steven, then they just don't. And then I'm just like, then I love them more. You know? Those are the people that need the most love. You know? It kills some of them, probably, knowing that they're loved and they, you know, what they did to Stephen. I don't want to see any harm done to any of them. I suppose some of them are doing their own kind of healing and, like, recovery. Not like. It's been a lot of talking this morning. I think that inner kind of soul searching and, you know, this music always gets me. Just, well, most music does. You know how it influences me. I looked at pictures of Cabrini from space, really. And I thought, oh, nice, they have nicer things there now. And I thought about PPL and what that meant. That was cute. You know. When I was there, I went to this church and I sat and talked to this woman. It was a volunteer run church. And they had made a meal, and I wasn't gonna go because I was proud. Then I was like, I'm gonna go. So I went. You know. So, hold on, I'm gonna just do this here quick. I know you guys are like, what is he doing? I just, well, I think I can multitask. It's not that hard. Um, yeah, I thought about her too just now. I was just like, that little lady. She made me laugh on the bus. She asked me something funny. She said, "Do you know Philip?" I was like, "No." She told me she was going to her brother's store. I told her I was amazed in her presence. I was just like, that's how I get sometimes when I'm in some people's, around certain people. I'm like, oh, you know. I suppose she would have tried to hurt me like that too. You know, tried to get to me like Svea said, well, Mia's dying. Suppose she would have tried to hurt me like that too, having me be absent at her death. But I guess it doesn't matter here if it's not real. You know. Besides, I know where those two girls are. They're safe. Mia and Svea. I know you're safe. Even if your physical body's with your mother or, her parents. It was funny to see Janice and Henry at court. I think they were more upset with her. Like they were there to like bear witness to what she had done. They looked at they looked at and I was like, wow. Your mother yeah, had Justin living with us. And then I won't even say I like Justin though. You know. I don't know what to say. I mean, I guess if this is a non-duality world, then Justin and Henry and pretty much everybody would be on Stephen Lindquist's side. Stephen Philip Lindquist's side. But you see how I don't want that? I want them to dig deep within their own inner worlds and find some meaning in their life. And if that takes them lifetimes, I mean, I don't know. It took me lifetimes of witnessing, you know, and learning from great teachers, even the bad ones, even the like hurtful ones. I think I told you I learned from them the most. And then I flipped things around on them. I set goals for myself, and then I changed them. And I've seen signs before, and I could have walked right into them. Sometimes I did. But then again, those are paths that we go on in our life for God knows why, just. And don't get me wrong, I use God, like, God knows why, as you could think of it as just like spirit knows why, or cosmic energy reaching, you know. I know I've seen some things that I'm still looking at the bottom of that ocean, just thinking, I know what's down there. I do. And it's just, and there's something in really like grave importance down there. And in Ethiopia, there's just something like a great secret. It might have been what Ethiopia was at that time, though, which was something totally different. And I'm using my own landmarks that I know in my mind in this physical body to, like, you know. So it's hard to see what it was because it was something. I'm like, well, I'm getting like lost inside my mind again. Sean always wants to try to rein me back into reality of here and now, and I'm like, well, sometimes they're telling me, Stephen, go find those things. Remember those, you know, rituals, or, you know. I don't think a lot of people have seen them, though. All of them. Or maybe a select few. But well, that one, too. That's not a nice one. Yeah. Or that one. Yeah. But I know what it means. I do know what it means. It basically means to destroy the self. Some people do that quickly, you know. And some of you know what I'm talking about. Some people do it over a long period of time. But eventually, everybody destroys the self. I mean, and even I used to know really angry health fanatics. They're like, I've done everything right my whole life. I've eaten the right food. I've done this and this and this and this, and I prayed and meditated, and I'm like, oh, and you're still sick. I didn't say that, but that's kind of like, sometimes that happens. But they would be so angry about it, like, and I got cancer, and I never smoked, and I got this, and I never did this, and it's like, yeah. And that was your walk. That was your, I mean, you know, that was their journey. And I remember how angry some of them were. Maybe some of that leaks through me sometimes, but I'm gonna like hold it in. And like, it's just, and there were families that were so mad about why did we have these children with like disabilities or stuff? And it was like, you know what I said when I didn't really, I was just happy that we had healthy children. I would have been happy with any kind of children, Tara. We got two beautiful, healthy children. And you wanted them to be different than what they were. Which is, Lindquists. You can't take that out of them. That is, that's hardwired. Like that's in. Chrissy said they're Lindquist. They're not going to be easy on her. And I was like, no. Well, which Lindquist has been? I mean, no, it's just, I told you about, walking and crawling, and we can't pretty much come out fighting. And it's not, it's difficult. I mean, we did usually come out fighting, just like, let me at it, just go through life fighting too. You know, some of us have. Well, I still fight. I'm like, Margie tries to fix things. I think Chrissy's fighting now for her children. Not, I mean, she's fighting for them to grow up and to, you know, to be independent, and she shows them that. It's always funny when other parents tell you how to parent. And if parents know, they're like, "Oh, thanks." It's always nice when it's someone else's kid, right? You got great advice then, but when it's your own, it's like, "You want to sit in my spot? Come on." Not many would. One thing we used to, well, Chrissy and I, well, and Margie too. Margie would, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. And I'm like, Margie, come on, stop it. She would tell other parents how to take care of their kids. I guess it's my turn to tell her now. Take care of your kids before it's too late, Margie. Before they fail in college and before they have to come home. And you'll be there to rescue them, and they'll never be able to grow up. And they're going to fall, and they're going to get hurt. And they don't need Benadryl every 5 minutes because they have a runny nose. I never told her that. You know. I guess I am now. And Chrissy, you better figure out what your daughters are telling Margie. But you probably already know the same thing I know. They're calling her to fix things because they're upset or because they think she will or try to. It's always easier to look to aunts and uncles to do things. It makes for a confusing family dynamic, though. Not for me, because I'm like, I saw all that inner working, and I was just like, isn't that funny? You know? So. I was reading these letters about Bethel Church. I wanted them to include an announcement about my grandma, and the church wouldn't. But Svea Church did. Because I called them and I sent them a letter. And I said, even though my grandma isn't a member here, well, on paper, I think she still was. I think she was still sending them money. But they included it because they knew who she was. They knew her. I was one of Chrissy knows. I told her. It was one of the biggest hurts in my life, was losing her. And not seeing her girls grow up for all those years. But like I said, she pulled into herself, and she needed to do that, probably. And so while it was not pleasant while it was going on, I understand it from a different perspective. And I have to admit, I didn't really stop thinking about her during that time. I I didn't. I thought about her all the time. I mean, that's why I collected those letters that everybody got from her and Johnny, like Christmas cards and stuff, and saved them. I would ask Mom and Margie for them. I would say, do you have letters from Chrissy and Johnny so I can see what they're doing? I don't know. It was a different time. But in so many ways it was good. And maybe that distance made us closer. She told me once, I don't want to hear about all your problems. It'll make me cry. And I was like, well, it's not to make her cry. That I would never. She always thought that she could have done something about it, and she was just as helpless as I was as a child. I'm sure together we could have like burnt down Wilmer, but we wouldn't have done that, you know. It just when Margie went to Florida, well, I won't even get into that whole story. Sometime Margie always refused to talk to people too. You know why? Because she lateralized her pain into other people's lives and thought by trying to fix their lives she would be able to fix her own. And I love you, Margie. I do. I just want you to come to terms with that one day. You know? So it's, thank God for the Scandinavians. It's funny how Chrissy and I divided up the genealogy, even though I have all the information. She picked the Norwegian side, and I picked the Swedish side, even though we were, well, He wasn't picking sides either. I kind of had that bigger kind of view of the family anyways, so and the distances our family on all levels had gone, you know. So I said one day I would sit down and share with her all the books that I had made and all the photos, and one day hopefully I'll get those negatives scanned in that I wanted. I have a feeling that somebody already did that, you know, or maybe tried to. I tried to do that once. I was going to buy a negative scanner, and then I was like, oh, you know what I'll be doing? Feeding negatives through a scanner. And then I would have got sucked into that. I'd still like to see it done, because I'd like to see some of those old photos of Grandma's. She had those really small negatives. It was just amazing. And there was something about her camera. I remember it. And I loved it when Svea played with that. I love that so much, just seeing her with it. Well, Mia played with it too. Your mom used to get so mad at you guys for having toys all over the place. I was like, they're toys, you know. But she wanted to stay in that small house her whole life. And I'm like, I told her, I said, when they're teenagers, ugh, I did not want to see that for her either, though, for Tara. I wanted. It's strange how she wanted to do that, though. Like, stagnate in one. Well, she wanted to stay in that toxic job. I promised myself that I would never stay in a toxic job. I don't know why I'm talking about her so much. In some ways, I'm kind of worried about her soul and her spirit. And I did say that I would need her in the future. And Chris said she would need you. You know, I had wrote down once, I said, Tara Beth Keynes, I'll save you. Svea, Beth Keynes, Lindquist, I'll save you. Mia Francis, Lindquist, I will save you. Stephen Philip Lindquist, I will save you. Sean, I will save you. And then a lot of times I think, gosh, if somebody had to use somebody, it would be, Stephen Philip Lindquist. I was probably right. I was probably the strongest in our family. You know? And I have to admit, I've had some help. Like speaking to the ancestors, you know, to nature. I look at her sometimes. You're like, that could be just the wind blowing tree and leaves around, and I'm like, I trust you. You're like, well, how can you trust nature? It's so violent and beautiful and destructive. Because I feel like a kindred spirit, you know. It's funny, I should show you that. I called it the light of heaven. I used to sit with it in my room at Cabrini and type and do homework. I don't know if anybody knows, but I called it that, the light of heaven. And it was a broken lamp. And the shade doesn't even really. It's just. It used to fall all the time, the shade. Sometimes I just. I sat there at night with it on. I'd make videos too, like just. And write. And I would. On the floor. Oh. I couldn't help it. I was listening to music. Tapping. I always said I was going to get a rug to put under my feet there, and I never did. I never did. You know. Oh, it wouldn't even matter if they pulled the rug up from underneath my feet there. I mean, I had heavy shoes on. You know. I don't know. I don't know. I just think about, like, I'm in such a good mood now. Well, I ate that other yogurt. I have made some for Sean, but he's still not awake. It's 10:52. I know I woke up last night at 1:30 and then at 4:30, and I was just like, still in my clothes. I trimmed up a little bit too. You know. I gotta get in the shower. Sometimes I feel like I could just sit and talk forever. You know. I don't know. Those little guys. I do hope you get a chance to watch that albino squirrel, the elusive albino squirrel in Loring Park video. I know. I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna go find something. You know. I was gonna make another wreath. I saw some. Well, that's what I saw. That's what I might go do. I might go take a. I might go look at somebody's place where they've slept in the summer. It's on this side of the freeway. And there was a chair there and just this old mattress. Looked like either a homeless person was sleeping there. I'm gonna go sit where they sat or slept. It's not that I haven't been homeless before. I know that feeling. And I've slept, or I've sat in places where other people have been and looked at what their perspective is like. But I want to do that. I want to go down there and today probably. There's a hole in the fence. And I want to see what they see when they lay there. You know? And I mean they as a broad umbrella for, well, them, but not that I would want to see anybody be homeless on my account. You know? I just want to see what it looks like. You know, there's a chair there and everything. Wouldn't it be funny if really rich people were like spending the night outside? Leaders of corporations had to go and sleep, down on Skid Row or something with no money just to try to figure out how do you do that, you know? I told Scott that once about that homeless man. I may have said this already. Told him where he could get like a free meal, and he didn't go. And I said, well, he was probably just trying to help you. The only way he could. It's a beautiful idea, just going and sitting down with somebody like that for a meal. I know I'm like rambling on again. It's funny, the dark clouds turned into like these beautiful white and gray, fluffy clouds. But the blues are so, well, I don't know if anybody pays attention to the sky very much, but blues change colors as you get further away and even closer. It's remarkable, actually. Things you take for granted. Or maybe not you, Stephen. I mean, you've always found some kind of strange beauty in, like, you know, lots of strange places. Lots of strange people. Lots of hurtful people, too. And then you usually end up changing that on them. I don't know. I mean, it's just, well, her, it's just, I thought when I closed my eyes, I thought I saw flames coming up around her, just like, you know, and it's probably because I took such good care of her. Who knows? Who knows? Well, listen, I better go. I'll talk to you later. I'm sure you're like, do you have to? No, I will. Okay, I love you.